This is how to make some heat on the Novation Circuit Rhythm. I think because of its limitations, a lot of people tend to think of this thing as just like an idea sketch pad and nothing more. And you know what? Fair enough. But I think you can take it a bit farther. So in the case of the first beat that you heard in the intro, very simple kick and clap pattern. You can take that pretty far with distortion for your trap kick needs. Same deal with your 808s. And note that I've set the slope forwards just a tad to cut off the attack of the 808 so it doesn't fight so much with the kick. But that comes later. So for this beat, I am using one of the features of the recent-ish firmware update that allows you to take loops and pitch them around automatically to match the tempo of your project. So in this case, I've got this loop that I got off of Splice. This is what it sounded like originally. And with your sample selected, go into sample and select one of these. And in this case, it's not going to even let me slow it down because it literally can't pitch it down that far, but it let me pitch it up. I've also sent it to the reverb a bit, which gets some of that stereo width that I'm missing back. This is our foundation. We've got our 808. I should also mention, I do like to cut like a tiny bit of lows on my 808s as well. I can do onboard mixing on this thing, so I may as well take advantage of it. That's the basis of our beat. I've also taken this breaks sample, and it's just pitched it way the hell down. And I've distorted it a bit, cut a bunch of lows, and pushed it into the background as just this little texture element. I've found that having little texture elements like this just kind of in the background really goes a long way towards bringing a beat to life. Building on that. Simple little hi-hat. Switching between a couple of different samples. Second, very dinky little hi-hat. Nothing crazy there. And nothing on this track. So let's bring in our main melody. So this started life as a pretty normal sounding little synth one-shot. Nothing too crazy there. So then we distort it, cut some lows, cut some highs, add some reverb. And I actually went even harder with distortion than that. I've showed this on the channel before, but this combination of high and low cut filtering, distortion, and reverb really brings sounds to life if they're feeling a bit boring. That's our first beat. Second beat. This also takes advantage of the pitching stuff to fit the tempo thing, because this started life as this. And I showed how I made this beat using a bunch of the new firmware 2.0 features in a video that I'll link at the end of this one in my original coverage of that firmware update. So I used the fixed length recording to resample a portion of this beat. So if I just pop open a blank project, it's just living on this pad. So now I can set my tempo to something like, I think it was like 126 or something. Slow it down. And now I've got something that's super vibey to build off of and take in a completely different direction, which is what I've done here. So first of all, mildly distorted punchy kick. You can hear that the looping is not 100% perfect, but for the purposes of this, it's close enough. I've also distorted this a bit. The way it's pitched the 808 and it just like hits is very nice. That's probably too much. And you can hear I've sidechained it to hell and back. That's too much. Fairly distorted little clap. Basic offbeat hi-hat. I've got a little bit of swing on here to match what the break is doing in that resampled bit. And you can hear that in these hi-hats. These are also sidechained to the kick. Makes them feel a lot more alive. We'll get back to that. And then I've done a similar thing where I've taken another break and done the same. And then I've sidechained that quite aggressively. And this, like, by itself is kind of a vibe. Without. With. And then, similar deal for our melody. Distortion, let me actually just show you. The sample was really quiet, and so the distortion was partially there just to get extra volume, and then partially for tone. Too much. Cut some lows. And of course, reverb. I don't want to add too much though, because this part is sidechained a little bit, so I don't want to like kind of override that, if that makes sense. I also have a little bit of this ping-ponging slapback delay on our main sample. To add some width. That's going to mess with your stereo image, so be careful. And grid effects are your friend here as well. So that's how I took that original beat that I made and flipped it into something totally different. And what I'd love to do is figure out a way to like nail a transition from this original beat to like pitching it down smoothly until we get to this, and then go from that kind of like drum and bass meets trap vibe to this kind of dirty little house thing. Gabe from the future, update. I went ahead and did it. If you'd like to see my coverage of the Circuit Rhythm 2.0 firmware update, you can check this video out up over here, and I'll be back with a new video in a little bit. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching.